Welcome to Animation Hustle, your daily dose of animation inspiration. Let's take a look at some of my favorite cool, funny, and inspirational behind-the-scenes animation stories. Let's get into it. DreamWorks animators really struggled to make this beard.
Stoick's beard is the most challenging beard we have ever done here at the studio.
When you see how hilariously bad things could have turned out, you'll understand why getting this little detail right was so important. Alright, let's go back. So the How to Train Your Dragon movies are known for dragons, but can we take a second to appreciate the glorious, majestic, and luscious beards? They look great, but they cause a lot of problems. As we know, the best characters are always bald, and that's because in CGI, hair is the hardest thing to do. It's always funny to see how animators over the years have struggled with it. At Disney, at Pixar, everywhere. It's hard. So when they were making dragons, they knew it would be a huge challenge. One of the main characters' beard was especially challenging, but they had to figure it out.
With Stoick, we wanted to make sure that he looked impressive. That beard is certainly part of giving him that authority.
To pull it off, they developed a whole new technology called smoosh, and one guy ended up programming it all.
Sean Nolan was the one that did the rigging on the beard, and he worked for months on this.
It's crazy how so much work goes into such tiny details, but they figured it out. And I'm glad they did, because Stoick without his beard would have looked weird. This Pixar animator panicked when he forgot how to animate.
I just can't animate. I don't understand what's wrong with me.
When his boss found out, things got intense.
This is it. This is where they're gonna fire me.
The story is crazy. So real quick, this guy is Michael Makarowicz. He worked at Pixar on The Incredibles and Cars, but when he was working on Ratatouille, there was a huge problem. It's everyone's dream to work at Pixar, so once he got there, Makarowicz worked non-stop to always improve. One day, he realized he couldn't animate anymore.
I lost all artistic capability. It just went away.
That's like if Superman forgot how to fly, or Spider-Man forgot how to dance. And when he tried to fix it, nothing worked. So he did what any of us would do in that situation. Tried to hide it. He acted like he was busy, he avoided meetings, hid out in his office. After weeks of hiding out, the film's director finally called him into a meeting.
Oh, pretty sure I'm getting fired.
But the meeting took an unexpected turn. When the director found out how much he was struggling, he helped him realize that he was overworked, which resulted into a major art block.
Where I couldn't animate because I was overworked and I didn't realize it. I went to school like 6 in the morning, I came back at 1 in the morning. Then when I got to Pixar, I did the exact same thing until Ratatouille, which was another 3 or 4 years. And I never took vacation. I just didn't take care of myself. And my brain said, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. I slowly kind of like taking a break, taking it easy and talking to somebody, that artistry sort of came back to me. And I made it through the movie. And then as soon as the movie was done, I took like 3 months off.
This lady has a legendary story. She single-handedly hand-drew every frame of animation for the first Cuphead game. That's 45,000 drawings. If you think that's crazy, wait till you hear the rest of her story. Cuphead is known for its rubber hose-style animation that mimics cartoons from the 1930s. To copy that style, the team made their animation like they made cartoons back in the day. I'm talking pencil and paper. After the animators drew their characters, they would hand their piles of drawings to this lady. This is Maya Ozenhauer. She was the inker on Cuphead. Just like in the past, she had to draw over every frame to finalize the outlines and get them ready for coloring. She couldn't use computers, so she had to draw every drawing from every animator. And the results are incredible. But wait, there's more. Her work is even more impressive when you learn that she didn't even go to school for animation. She was self-taught. But wait, there's even more. Because she inked all the drawings while also being one of the main producers on Cuphead. But wait, she did all of this while being pregnant. She might possibly be the most awesome person to work in animation. Fellow Cuphead animator said it best when she said,
the inking was done by Maya Moldenhauer, who is one of our producers at Studio MDHR. She's absolutely superhuman, and so she single-handedly inked every single cell that was ever created for Cuphead, while telling us what to do and that we actually have deadlines, which we didn't have at the beginning. And she also gave birth to 2 children during the production of Cuphead. So the woman is magical.
Disney animator snapped when he got feedback from his boss.
I say, is this what you want?
Usually, animation executives give terrible notes, but this time, I kind of agree. So let's go back. This is Andreas Deja, a legendary Disney animator. He's the guy who animated these characters, but one of the hardest characters for him to create was Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. When he first started drawing him, he gave him really cartoony features, but when the producer of the movie, Jeffrey Katzenberg, saw it, he wasn't satisfied. He wanted Gaston to be more handsome.
The soap opera star is the villain? How is that gonna work?
Over and over and over again, Katzenberg insisted that Gaston must be handsome. Deja tried to explain that if you make him handsome, he'd be really hard to draw.
And I said, but if he's handsome, that's gonna make it so much more difficult. And Jeffrey said, well, nobody said it was gonna be easy. And that was the end of the meeting.
So they ended up making a handsome Gaston. But why was being handsome so important? Well, it's simple and kind of genius. You see, the Beast looks scary, but has a heart of gold. And Gaston looks good, but is truly evil on the inside. All of this plays into the movie's theme of looks can be deceiving. Remember this scene from The Incredibles 2? Check out the shirt. It didn't always look this good. This is the way Mr. Incredible's shirt looked before. There were too many wrinkles, it was too baggy, and the collar was jumping around all over the place. It looked bad. But this artist and her team fixed it. This is Fran Kilal, and she is a cloth and simulation technical director at Pixar, which basically means she's the real-life Edna Mode. She designs and tailors clothes for animated characters. There's tons of complex nerd stuff like math and science involved to make the clothes move, but by combining it with art and fashion, the end results are always incredible. You need to start paying attention to costumes in Pixar movies. Trust me, they are way cooler than you realized. I still can't believe Steven Universe came out over 10 years ago. I was an intern at Cartoon Network at the time, and I just remember all the buzz around it when it first dropped. It's such an iconic show for a lot of people, so I thought it would be cool to take a look at how an iconic scene from that show was made. So Joe Johnston, a lead artist on the show, broke down how this balcony-side musical number came together. In a Tumblr post, he wrote, "For Pearl's song, It's Over, Isn't It?, the scene is about Pearl accepting a loss. They started out with an outline for the scene. In it, basically, the writers describe what the scene is going to be. I'm going to leave a link to the Tumblr post so you can check it out in further detail there. But this outline is then given to the storyboard artist to bring it to life. He said, when we started storyboarding the episode, all of the rough demos of the songs were recorded so that we had an idea of the amount of time we had between each song. Rebecca remembered a part from the 1982 movie, Victor Victoria, starring Julie Andrews, that she wanted to use as reference for the feeling of the scene. Here's a scene from Victor Victoria, and here's a scene from Steven Universe. Do you notice how they're kind of similar? Johnson said, right away, we latched onto the spinning 360 camera move. I love the energy and the focus it gave to the character, and I immediately roughed out the version with Pearl. I built the rest of the scene onward. I brought back motifs like her sword skills and her dance style to help evoke the past events of the series. I tried to give as much time as I could to each shot and make her acting as expressive as possible. At the end, I added a pause for when she throws the rose into the air. It felt like a good spot for things to crescendo and ring out. From there, he cleaned up the storyboards, and that was pretty straightforward. The scene didn't change that much except for some tweaking for her acting here and there. Joe Johnston was super proud of how the scene turned out and gave major props to Nick DeMaio, the animation director, Sunman Animation in Korea, where they actually drew the entire episode by hand. It's really cool getting a behind-the-scenes breakdown of how a Steven Universe scene comes together. One of the main lessons I learned from this is how to use inspiration and reference. Professionals are always using reference, and I think a lot of amateur and non-professional artists think it's cheating, but it's not. They were inspired by this really awesome scene and used some elements of it to make their scene really awesome too. This scene from The Incredibles was absolutely unhinged. I am so glad they changed it. Real quick, here's how we almost got a very different version of this classic scene. Okay, so we've all watched The Incredibles. It has so many awesome scenes that you forget that it's really hard to make an animated movie. And for every amazing scene, there's a bad one that did not make the cut. Now, normally we don't see the work in progress stuff, but during an interview, a Pixar animator explained how they begged the director to change one small moment in the movie. Do you agree with him? I'll let him explain.
There's a scene at the end where Violet's got her confidence now and she meets Tony Reidinger and he's trying to ask her out on a date. He starts stammering over his dialogue. When he starts stammering, she actually leans over and gives him like a little kiss to shut him up. And at some point, someone says, "You really think she would kiss him in this situation?" And everybody's on the room's all, no, she wouldn't kiss him. She's like a fair 14-year-old girl. She would never do that. She's all right, well, what if she slapped him? And someone just said, just have her like put her finger on his mouth and say, shh, I like movies. It's like, okay, go with that, try that. And it worked out.
This Disney animator was overworked and really struggling.
I'm working late every week. You're doing all this extra work.
He was shocked when he discovered a new drawing technique that let him work faster, but also draw better. This mind-blowing technique was super simple, but it took his career to the next level. So real quick, this is Scott O'Brien. He's worked on tons of stuff, but had a major problem. After decades of working for some of the best animation studios, he realized he was drawing completely wrong. While storyboarding on a new show, his drawings took forever to make, yet they were still kind of dull. His coworkers who weren't classically trained animators had drawings that are super fun and expressive and made really quickly. That's when he realized they were drawing in a way he hadn't seen before. I'll let him explain.
They were drawing in a way that, as an animator, there's no way I would ever have even thought of it, where they draw the eyes first and then the contour of the body around that. It really just changed everything. I was drawing them like this. I was drawing like an animator, doing structure. But when I started drawing the eyes first, it became personality based. Instantly changed my whole life, really.
This hit Disney movie was made in secret. When the president of Disney finally saw what they were making, he was absolutely shocked.
And he said, I can't, but I like it.
Here's how the animators got away with it. The animators of Lilo and Stitch took a huge risk. When they first started working on it, they realized their movie was weird. It's about a villain that becomes a hero, weird. It's about an alien in Hawaii, weird. It's got voodoo, weird. And violence, and more violence. It's an amazing movie, but usually Disney doesn't make weird stuff. So the Lilo and Stitch team knew the executives would tear their movie apart and then cancel it. Desperate to save their movie, the team decided to do something unheard of. They went ghost.
Lilo and Stitch was almost entirely made in secret.
They spent 5 years working on it away from the main studio in Florida with a tiny team and cooked up a classic. When the president of Disney finally saw the rough cut, his reaction proves that their plan was totally necessary.
And he said, I like this movie. It's hard to, quantify, but I like it. But it's weird, but I like it. And so he was like struggling. That is pretty much all you need to know as far as like, had it been seen by a larger group early on, they would have said, this is bizarre. It doesn't make any sense.
Remember Madagascar? Well, I found the original character designs, and I can't tell if they're hilarious or cursed. I'm just glad they changed it. When you make an animated movie, it takes time to get the characters to look right. Shrek started like this, Stitch started like this, and Jasmine looked like this. As time goes on, the artist will often try to make the characters look like the actor who is voicing them. And normally it works, but for Madagascar, the results were interesting. So they decided on the character designs for Marty, Alex, and whatever the giraffe's name was, way before the actors were cast. But for Gloria the hippo, they changed her depending on who was in talks to play her. And they had a bunch of different actresses in mind, like her or her. But when they added J-Lo's features, things got weird. And only the production designer, Kendall Cronkite, thought so.
Originally, she was J-Lo, and her design, we had a huge butt on her. We did, but when she turned around, her tail was here, which means that half of her body was like a butt crack. It was unbelievable. So everybody else seemed to be fine, but I couldn't live with it. We had to change it.
This guy makes incredible animation on his Nintendo DS. It's a lot of work, but the final results will blow your mind. So this guy is Wayne Unton. He's been working as an animator at Disney since 2005. You probably recognize some of the scenes he animated. He was the guy who was in charge of animating Elsa in Frozen 2. While he uses the most advanced technology to bring characters to life at work, at home, it's a totally different story. He uses a bunch of different techniques to make cool animation. He does cool stuff like this and this, but his animation on his DS is awesome. I feel like we all tried animating on a DS, but this guy takes it to the next level. He uses his game system to make animation on the go, but it's crazy what he can do. He first draws the rough sketches, and then he goes back and animates the drawings frame by frame. And of course, the internet has gone crazy for his stuff. I don't know about you, but basically all of my DS animation look like this. But his stuff looks like this, and this, and this. The first reaction to Adventure Time was hilarious. The studio executives were absolutely stunned.
Because I was like, Adventure Time, come on, grab your friends. And they were like,
This guy had no idea what he was doing.
I was just lucky. I'd never pitched before to a studio.
But here's the incredible story of how he tricked himself into making a hit animated show. So this is Penn Ward. At the time, he was a cartoonist looking for work. He wanted to create shows but had a huge problem. He never wants to work on what he should be working on, even when it's his own show.
I'll work on other drawing projects. When I'm supposed to be drawing for Adventure Time, I'll make comic books.
Basically, he's the king of procrastination. And the only way to get something done is to have a deadline. In order to come up with the idea for Adventure Time, he cranked up the pressure and did something crazy. Luckily, it worked out. He kind of did things backwards.
I can only work under pressure. I had to come up with an idea. I was scheduling pitches without an idea, and then I would try to hit, that was my deadline, to come up with something and then pitch it at the deadline. When the deadline happens, I'll just crank all night.
Let me know if you also need a deadline to get things done. Turns out, when you see animated characters from different angles, it's horrifying. Here are 3 more horrifying behind-the-scenes images of some of your favorite animation. So Mario is known for some pretty cartoony and goofy animation, but in Mario Wonder, they took it to a next level. While the game looks fun and innocent and happy, to achieve that look, you had to do this. Remember this scene from Encanto? Well, we saw it like this, but in the animation software, it looked like this. Those long arms are crazy, but not as crazy as how the characters from Oddballs looked. So this show had a really simple style, but don't be fooled. The character Max was super goofy, but inside the animation program, he looked like this. Subscribe for more behind-the-scenes animation stories.